Hey everybody, Brandon here, and we've been talking a lot about the things that we like about Nintendo Switch 2. We just had our full review of the console go up, but there are some things that Nintendo Switch 2 gets wrong, sometimes very wrong, and I wanted to point some of those out here today. These are things I want Nintendo Switch 2 to fix. First up is HDR. This has been a big topic of conversation, that Nintendo Switch 2's implementation of HDR is just flat out bad. The controls for setting it up are not good. There are a few videos about this, but the level of control is too granular, and displays that don't have HDIG are basically double tone mapping the image, so a lot of folks are experiencing washed out images instead of HDR, myself included. I have two HDR-enabled displays in my home, and neither of them have HDIG as an available option. They also don't reach 1000 nits peak brightness, so they're not completely HDR, they're more HDR-ent. But even then, I can't get an acceptable image like I can out of my PlayStation 5 or even Blu-ray movies. HDR also isn't particularly good on the screen because, again, peak brightness just isn't super high. And Nintendo hasn't really done a great job of preparing their games for HDR, so even if you do get a good, quote-unquote, good HDR image, it's probably still not going to look great. This is technically something, at least from a docked perspective, that Nintendo could fix via firmware updates, and I hope they do, because right now, this just isn't it. Next one is a big pet peeve of mine. It's annoyed me every time I've used Game Chat up till now, and it still annoys me. Technically, there are two things here, but to start off, why can't you add people to a game chat call after the call has already been initiated? Discord can do that. PlayStation 5 chat can do that. I don't use Xbox, but I assume Xbox can do that too. We were so close, Nintendo. I like game chat a lot. You know, the mic quality isn't great, even if you are using a USB mic or a gaming headset. The audio is still fairly compressed, but just having an on-system voice chat function at all is a huge plus for me. And the fact that you can have 12 people in a call at once is really cool. Even if you can only have up to 4 people using video at once, just the fact that 12 people can get into a call and play together is really cool. I just wish every time someone wanted to join, you didn't have to end the call and start a new one. That's just stupid. We need to fix that. This next one is a more minor nitpick, but it still bugs me a lot, and that's that when you start a game chat session, it does not remember the last visual layout that you had set. I like to play with my games full screen. I imagine a lot of you do too. Unless I'm doing voice chat with someone who has camera on or they're sharing their screen, I don't want to see the little windows on the bottom. I just don't. So it would be great if it defaulted to the last layout you used in a call, or if you could just set what layout you want it to start with. Because every call so far, I've had to go to the settings after the call has started and change the layout so that it's full screen. Again, it's kind of a minor nitpick, but it's still annoying, and it probably should be fixed. This next one isn't necessarily exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2, but for as massive as an update that the eShop got on Nintendo Switch 2 compared to Switch 1, there is still a whole lot of AI slop on the recent re-released page. What are you doing over there at Nintendo? We've got to stop this. You've certainly made visibility for your own games better, but there's going to be a lot of indies and a lot of third parties that are going to get buried under all of the AI slop just because they keep pushing themselves to the top of the recently released page. There have been steps taken to combat what shows up on your page and whatnot, and generally speaking, I like the layout of the new eShop a lot more. You do have to go a little bit farther to search by recently released. That's normally how I like to search the eShop. You know, after a week, I'll go on the eShop and then, start scrolling from top to bottom under recent release just to see if anything came out that I wasn't aware of. That's a little harder to get to quickly, but that's not really a big deal. Getting rid of the AI slop is the bigger deal. It is less of a problem than it was, but it's still a problem, and it's one that needs to stop. This next one is actually an issue brought up to me by Derek, who is in a household with multiple Switches because, he has kids. In my home, it's just me and my wife, so when it comes to linking Nintendo Switch consoles together, we only have two to worry about. So swapping virtual game cards between one another is super easy. But Derek has multiple Switches, and he's been having to move virtual game cards amongst various systems. You can lend games to members of your family group for up to 2 weeks, but the process of just moving a game card from one system to the next should be a lot simpler. I think every member of your family group should be able to quote-unquote borrow your games without the need of a local connection, and I think you should be able to link more than 2 consoles together, like at least 4. Link at least 4 consoles together so that you can move virtual game cards without needing both systems. It'll be a lot less of a headache. I hope Nintendo turns around on this one because game share is a lot better on other platforms like Steam. Anyone in your family group can just play your game if you're not playing it. Overall, I think virtual game cards could be a net positive, but the way they're currently implemented is not it. And this last one is just more of an industry-wide issue. We need more actual game cards. It's really just Nintendo and a couple of other third-party games that currently have games on game cards. I know that the conversation around the manufacturing of the 64GB card and the price of that is big right now, and it remains to be seen whether introducing more storage size options for game cards to publishers will change this issue and make it better. But in the meantime, it really sucks to be at the launch of this platform and have so many of the quote-unquote physical games just be game key cards and not actual game cards. I've talked about this on the channel a lot. I am not a physical game collector. I've had to do away with a lot of my collection over the years for various reasons. And because of that, I no longer aim to own physical copies of games. It's also easier for me to play with my wife when we're just dealing with digital codes, which is weird to say, that's not usually the case. But for as ubiquitous as like the digital landscape is becoming, and as common as platforms are like Steam, where it's entirely digital, from a game's preservation standpoint and an ownership standpoint, game cards still need to be released and they still need to be available to the consumer. No digital licenses are safe unless otherwise stated, and up to this point, we have no guarantee that they are. Nintendo's been pretty good. You can still download the Wii games that you've purchased on the Wii Shop even now, but there's a bunch of games that were on the Wii Shop that you can't buy anymore. This is the first time Nintendo has an online store that is moving from one console to the next, and it would be great if this just was the platform for the rest of the company's history. It was really nice to be able to turn on my Switch 2 and just have all of my games. But there might be a day in the future where that's not true anymore. So we need more game cards. Tons of people have been complaining about that, and they're right to. We need our games to be safe, and this is the only way we're going to be able to do that. Have you encountered any issues with the Nintendo Switch 2 that you'd like to see Nintendo address? Let us know in the comments below. But we have a lot more coming, so for all your Nintendo Switch 2 news, reviews, and everything in between, subscribe to GVG. But until next time, keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye now.